Brandon, I have a problem.
What's that?
I I really want to do more monster crafting, but I've just been staring at this sheet of paper that says "sexy goblin?" and it's not moving at all for me.
You've got writer's stat block.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the techniques that I use for getting around writer's block when it comes to creating stats.
Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
I was
oh.
curious.
Also, welcome to our next installment of Monstercraft March.
I I'm curious if there's anything that for you, maybe for writer's block generally, not necessarily for
Mhm.
specifically stat blocks, that helps you get out of a rut.
I just have to get away from it. I have to get away from it and go do something else for a little bit. Usually, getting outside. I've tried to do a lot of other things, like expose myself to different media, like read a book I've not read before about a topic I've not read before. Like that can help sometimes, but for me, I get the best ROI on just getting away from any attempt to break the block and just letting it sort of dissolve naturally.
That's fair. It's it's very appropriate for me as an IT professional that your solution to this is to turn it off
Mm-hmm.
and then come back later and turn it back on again.
Mm-hmm. Because it works. It works.
It does. It does. That can be tremendously helpful, especially when part of the reason you're having the block is because you're getting frustrated with yourself for
Mm-hmm.
having the block. Like
Yeah.
the more you stare at it, the worse that's gonna get.
Yeah. Like you're just trying to force it. Like trying to. Mitch Hedberg had like a really weird thing one time where he was talking about like using some bad drugs, and he was like, but nothing was working, and I was trying to force the trip, and it was not cool. And that's what I feel like when I run up against that. It's like I'm just sitting there like hoping if I stare like hard enough at it and think deeply enough, I'm eventually going to have a breakthrough, and it literally never works.
That's fair. My number one go-to technique for having this exact issue is the exact same technique that I have for doing the dishes,
Uh-huh.
which is I know for a fact that you've had the experience where the sink is overflowing with just dirty dishes and you're like,
Mhm.
I gotta clean some of these dishes, but
Mhm.
God, that's an overwhelming pile of work looking down the barrel at me.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is something you practice as well, but the number one thing I do for both the dishes and stat block is, well, what I'll do is I'll open up the dishwasher and I will load it with silverware. Like that's going to be really easy. It's a really minor task. And then as I'm getting close to being done with the silverware, it's like, well, you know what? Like I've loaded the silverware. I may as well get the cups in here. Like that's going to
Mhm.
be pretty easy. It's going to be a pretty quick task. Well, you know what? I've got the cups in here. I may as well get the bowls in here. I may as well get the plates in here. And like you just kind of you let the thing snowball. So
Mhm.
with stat blocks, obviously it's not let me load the silverware in here. It's you know what? Like I'm stuck on like the motivation and the special abilities for this, but like let me just what are they good and bad at? Like
Mhm.
what if I just figure out like the really basic stat functions for this creature?
Yeah.
That's going to be really easy. Well, now that I've given that some thought, what if like the reason they're so good at athletic stuff is because they spend a lot of time like throwing rocks. Like I could give them a throwing rock ability. Like yeah,
Mhm.
that's easy.
I've written a dozen throwing rock abilities. I'll just go ahead and write that. This is interesting because it really kind of dovetails with what you were saying in the episode last week about just general philosophy and figuring out the why before you figure out the what and the how. But you're
Yeah.
just and really what you're doing is you're taking your like let's say it's just sort of the concept of the stat block that you're trying to write, but you can't, and you're just like, well, okay, maybe I'll start with like a trait. I'll just write a
Right.
trait. Because I
Right.
think, at least for me, I run into the biggest problem with trying to do monster crafting and stat blocks, which I'm not super great at, when I get up to the numbers and I have to start doing the math for it and everything. And that's kind of my hurdle for it. And at that point, I'm usually like, I'm just gonna piece out of this.
I will say, full honesty, I usually don't put solid numbers into a stat block until I'm more than halfway done with the
Hmm.
entire stat block, because it's stressful. There's a lot of math involved. You have to think about like what level is the party going to be when they come up against this, what's balanced for that level of party and for the party composition. Like it snowballs into this big complex thing that you feel like the meme of the lady with all the mathematic equations
Yeah.
flowing past her. She's
Yeah, I
like
remember I remember being that meme one time years ago when I found this really obtuse challenge rating chart for and you had to find where you were on the x-axis and the y-axis and then you bring it together. It's like that should be the challenge rating for it. And I didn't feel super confident in the results that I got from it.
the only thing that I've found that's helpful for challenge rating is, does a moderately balanced, not highly balanced, not low balanced, does a moderately balanced party of 4 at this level fight this creature and win 70% of the time?
So
And that's
okay.
like, there's a lot of vibes to what I just
Yeah,
described.
there's a lot of vibes.
But I will say, like, unless you're running an XP based campaign in Dungeons and Dragons, you don't need to put a challenge rating on there.
Mm.
Like, you.
And who's running an XP based campaign these days? You would think they would move up to like Windows NT or something like that.
At least Vista, surely.
A Vista based campaign. No, that's not the rolling hills of the wallpaper. That's where the party starts at the beginning of the adventure.
Oh, there we go. But getting back a little bit to the concept here, the overcoming of writer's block. Let's say that doing the dishes isn't working for you, getting
Mhm.
outside isn't working for you. You've got, usually when I get really stuck in a really bad rut like that, where it's like, God, I just do not know what I'm doing with this, I will frequently call a friend.
Mhm.
And as the person who most primarily has been that friend over the years,
Mhm.
you are well aware that I will sometimes just drop a message in your DMs and be like, I was I want to do this acid creature, but I don't want to do just like ooze stuff, you know? Like
Mhm.
what would be something cool about an acid creature? And I think last time it was something ooze like, it was for your underground labyrinth adventure.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah.
you were like, "Well, I mean, the adventure ends in a bakery and this is going to be like the signature monster, right? So what if you did like a bread monster?" And I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
it's it's a mother yeast dough."
Yeah, I remember that. You were talking, I was like, what are we what is he talking about? Is it that one? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's that one. It's that one. Another pull from the pre-COVID library.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those situations where I was just like, I mean, sewers are perfect to have an ooze monster, and I'm struggling to make this ooze monster interesting because
Mhm.
I don't think acid is very interesting.
Mhm.
But I turned it into a bread ooze monster,
Yeah.
and now it's interesting.
It's it's funny to me that, all the tactics for this, none of them involve like anything that you can summon from within yourself, really. It's all just like get away from the overarching task, like stop looking at it as like a discrete thing, like it's a gestalt. And maybe the closest to getting anything out of just yourself is doing the dishes, but even that to a certain degree is like, well, I'm going to distract myself a little bit by working on a tiny part of something that can almost be divorced from the whole.
Well, the thing is, like, if it was as simple as like, oh, you just gotta have the strength of will to
You need
push
grit.
forward, like you would have done that already.
Yeah.
You don't get writer's block and be like, maybe if I stare at this page hard enough, like
Yeah.
the lasers from my eyes will burn a concept into it.
I will make it legal.
Like I just I've never had, nor have I ever known anyone who's had writer's block, and staring at the page has been the solution. I've had multiple people tell me that they stared through the page and just kind of zoned out for a little bit and
Mhm.
started daydreaming about a variety of things. I will say something that I have heard from author friends, not so much from um, creator friends in the TTRPG spaces, but creator friends in the book writing spaces, is that sometimes the reason they end up with writer's block is because they have other things that are weighing on them.
Mhm.
And so, like, I mean, there are occasions where I'm trying to write something, but I keep thinking about the pile of dirty dishes that's in the kitchen. And so I'm like, man, I gotta finish writing this so I can go clean those dishes. Maybe the solution is to take a break and go clean those dishes and then come back when you're a little less stressed about the state of the house.
Mhm.
Like, sometimes that's just what you got to do, because
Yeah.
sitting and staring at your screen for an hour and a half and being like, I've accomplished nothing, you're just going to be mad at yourself about that. Like,
Yeah.
cut yourself some slack, give yourself a break, go get a snack, drink some water, see if coming back helps.
Yeah, it's like taking care of business, no matter what that business is, like lets you come back later. It's like when I bring my daughter home at night and I have to start her bedtime routine, and I'm always frustrated because I've always just worked like a long day, and then I get home and I have to do that because my wife's at work, and I'm just like, I got these things I want to do, and sometimes I'll have like my iPad or my phone, and I'll be like, well, I'll just sit here with her for a few minutes and I'll try and do this thing. And sometimes it's just as simple as like shooting a message to the Discord chat or something like that. But what I've learned over the weeks is, what I really need to just do is come home, feed her, put her in her jammies, put her in her sleep sack, and then sit on the couch. And then she's just going to fall asleep. And then I can put her in the crib. And then I can focus on the other stuff I wanted to with a much clearer head. It's just like, take care of what you need to take care of. And that sort of loosens your head up to be able to
My
think about this stuff.
my father would often say, you need to handle first things first,
Hmm.
which is a really goofy way of saying you need to figure out what your highest priority, most impactful tasks are
Hmm.
and do those before you do things like relax and enjoy your day. I don't fully agree with my father's philosophy, but I
Hmm.
have found that when I can't do something because my brain is too geared up in other things,
Yeah.
taking care of the other things does literally open space in my brain for thinking about the thing I'm trying to work on.
Hmm. What else you have for overcoming stat block, writer's block?
I mean, there's a variety of tricks. I've found that actually like laying on the floor and staring at the ceiling is an interesting way to shake up like how you are perceiving things. I in particular really like when it's nice outside, which it has not been recently
It
much at
has
all.
not. Aftermath of the
uh,
2026 ice storm, everybody.
is to go outside and lay down in my front yard and stare up into the open sky, which I'm sure my neighbors think is very normal and a reasonable thing to do.
Hmm.
But it is my sincere hope that watching me lay in my front yard has at least some of my neighbors like, man, why don't I lay in my front yard? Like, I've got all this space.
Yeah, that Josh Maltby, he knows what he's doing with his life. He's figured it out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And like, just that change of perspective sometimes allows me to drift my mind a little bit.
Hmm.
And I sometimes, while I'm laying there, I'll start having inspiration. I will often bring my phone with me. It needs to be on full silent, no notifications,
Hmm.
because if I can kind of relax and release my brain from whatever's like tethering it down so tightly,
Hmm.
then usually ideas start to flow shortly thereafter. and it's if I have to stand up and walk back into the house and walk past things like the pile of dishes in the sink, then the odds of me losing that train all over again are way too high. I gotta have my phone with me so I can be like tick 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 tick.
Well, you've heard it here, folks. The best way to get through your writer's block and craft excellent stat blocks is to do your chores.
I mean, look, if it's weighing on you, then yeah, take care of it.
All right, well, the time of this video is weighing on me, so you have a wrap up for us?
I'm gonna say, just kind of to summarize all of this, writer's block is always something is in your head that is keeping you from producing what you're trying to produce. Sometimes it's a lack of inspiration, sometimes it's stuff that's stressing you out. A lot of times it's that you've been focused on this for so long and not had ideas that you need to do something else so that you can loosen up the flow.
Yeah. And I guess too, don't let the math of it stress you out. Focus on the story, focus on the lore, and then the math, you can figure that out after you've done the hard part.
If you arrive at the table with a fully fleshed out monster concept, but no math to go with it, you can figure out the math as you start rolling dice.
Yeah, you just vibe, back to vibes. We're back to vibes, monster crafting vibes. But yeah, everybody be sure to check out the Patreon. Like we said, we'll be doing a live stat block thing on the next deep dive that'll be coming out in a couple weeks, the Ronald McDonald Trash Clown.
I'm so concerned.
I know. We did one talking about our really goofy bestiary called Tars, and we're going to be having some of the, like, a sampling of those entries rolling out on the Patreon throughout the month. Monster Crafting March!
Monster Crafting March!
Woo! Packers won the Super Bowl! We'll check everybody out later. Bye.
Bye, y'all.